Welcome back to Cloud Cottage, also known as Idiot Towers or the Heights of Stupidity. Right, so that's a shed, believe it or not. Not that, but that's a shed, and that shed needs to go here. Now, one of the problems that we have, and part of the reason why I'm standing here, is that, as you can see from a quick pan around, our garden, well, site is structurally unflat. So what needs to happen is I need to build a platform to put the shed on. I need to build a platform to put the shed on, and in order to do that I need to clear all this rubbish out of the way first, which I'm going to do now with the wheelbarrow. Then what I'll do is I'll probably bring you back in when I'm starting to make. I need to build a frame that kind of like a platform, basically. Did I just say it before? I need to build some kind of a platform to actually to put the shed on. So we just need to get all this crap out of the way first, and then we can take it from there. Well, that all looks probably deliciously easy on time lapse. God, I'm knackered. I've significantly extended the envelope of myself and my wheelbarrow. I think we've certainly explored the corners of it. There's a lot of angry earwigs and slugs and snails and spiders around now, unfortunately. I always feel bad kicking those guys out, particularly on a site like this where useful little hidey holes are going to be so difficult to find. But there we are. I think what's amazing here is how quickly nature takes over if you let it, actually. Apparently it takes centuries to make decent topsoil, but if you leave anything alone around here for more than a few months, it starts to collect organic material, and a bunch of creatures have moved in. I fear one of our biggest mistakes is as a species is thinking that we're outside of that web of life. When the alien archaeologists eventually turn up in a couple of millennia, they will be able to enumerate the magnitude of our hubris by counting our bleached bones, I'm afraid. But maybe not. So there's a couple of big ticket lumps left. I can move those. This is now just kind of shaly crap. All of this came out of the house when we had the top 3 windows put in. Was it top 3 or top 2? Yeah, top 3 windows. Unaccountably, they built this house. You can see the kind of nature of it. They built it with no windows on the south-facing elevation. So all of this beautiful stuff, when we moved here, was completely obscured. You couldn't see it. There was one window at the back where the toilet is, but other than that, it was just a wall. It was just really miserable. So when we had it repointed, we got the stonemason to put some new windows in, put 3 new windows in, which immediately just completely changed the nature of the place, and generated all this stone. Really quite well dressed, actually. It's good stuff. You can see what they were doing when they used it to build the house. Anyway, it's out now. So what I need to do now is come up with a frame that's basically one end of it's going to sit on this wall here, and the other end of it is going to be standing on a couple of legs out here somewhere, where I can, well, at the right distance away from the wall. And then so I just need to dig out a bit. I'm not going to use any concrete. I think I'm just going to dig a sort of a foundation, put some paving stones in, That's worked reasonably well for me in the past. The whole of this site is built on quarry spoil, so almost everything here is subject to a certain amount of settling. So I'm not sure whether putting for a small shed concrete, I don't think it's really necessary. So yeah, that's going to be the next thing. So I'll probably be in the workshop next. I'll see you then. Right, welcome back to the slightly chaotic workshop. How you can see this drawing okay. So this is what I'm attempting to come up with today, possibly not just today, but I need to build this, which is more or less a table. Here is the base of the shed. I've kind of outlined the shed. You should just be able to see it, the way it's going to sit. This side of the table, what we're calling the table, is going to be the deck, is going to be on the wall. I was clearing stones from kind of this area here. This is the wall at the back of that area. It's actually where the camera was when I was doing the time lapse of that. So the camera was sitting kind of here, looking down there. So the ground, this is the wall, and the ground slopes away kind of like that. So one end of the deck is going to be sat on the wall, the other end is going to be elevated on some legs. What I haven't shown here is I'm going to need some kind of some bracing kind of in there and in there, at least to keep this all square. At this end, I think I'm going to use metal kind of L brackets to secure these ends to the wall itself, so that will hold those, fix those in that position. Then these will be sat, these legs are going to be sat on concrete slabs, or well, concrete, some sort of slabs. I'm going to sit on the ground, and then I'll also need some kind of bracing in here to just stiffen the thing up in that direction. Where these legs meet the table, I'm going to, if you imagine this is the top of the leg, I am going to create a section like this for this kind of joist to sit in here. Yeah, like that. Right, and that's going to sit, so that's going to sit in there, and then this end of the frame is going to just lap up against the outside, I think. So at least the weight is being taken, the load is being essentially taken down through the legs. This isn't really doing a great deal apart from just supporting the ends of this decking material that I'm going to have to put in. I've got enough decking to do these bits, but not, I've got some offcuts kicking around. I could probably fill in some of that, but that's not the main thing, because the door, if you see my ghostly shed outline, the door is at this end, or is going to be at this end, and the spiral staircase is sort of up there. So that's the plan. To do this bit, I'm going to do that thing that I've seen. I saw it on Chris Harbour Natural Building. He's a channel I can highly recommend. Where what you do is, if this is your piece of material like this, you use a circular saw to cut slots of a fixed depth. Yeah, as many as you want. I think he kind of freehands it. Obviously you want to try and get the first one accurate, but then this way, if you've set the saw depth right, you can just whiz in here and then chisel it out. That's going to be my strategy for creating this sort of negative space, if you like, negative volume here that this joist can actually sit into. In my extremely expensive collection of materials that I bought, I bought one piece of 2.4 meter, essentially 100 by 100 mil post, one piece. Now I've been out there with a spirit level, don't know why I'm drawing that, but there you go, and a cane and a piece of 2x4, and I pretty much need these. This distance here is about 120, so actually I will need to cut that in half, and then the land drops away surprisingly steeply. So I'm going to have to possibly even build up here with slabs to bring me up to the right level. It just means that I know that I don't. I mean, ideally, I wouldn't make these longer than I needed to, so I'd have some spare material, because the price of wood at the moment is just crazy. So you don't waste any wood these days. But actually, if I just cut them, if I cut them cut it in half, and then have two legs of 100 or 1200 mil, that should see me right for those two lengths there, and I can, whatever adjustment I need to make, I can make in essentially in kind of groundwork, which is okay. So first task is going to be to getting this cut. So I'll see if I can give you a view of doing that. Although I'm sure you've seen it a million times before. Oh well, actually, no, the first job is to cut my piece of fence post in half, and then that gives me the two posts that I want to work with. All right, just pause that for a bit and bring you back in a second. I'm just cutting the main piece of material for the legs, and yet again I'm using this incredibly useful little device sent to me by a friend to support the, because you're trying to cut this quite heavy piece of material, you've got this thing, and you really want to support the free end of it, just to give you a little bit of control. And with this thing I can just set it exactly, using this screw I can set it exactly right. I don't want too much thrust, because I don't want the saw cut to close up, so it's just you can just tweak it just perfectly. So yeah, I'd highly recommend one of these little things. I've used it over and over and over again, probably for the want of a better workshop, you know, maybe if I've got a proper big table and circular saws and all that sort of thing, then that would be better, but this is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, get one. I don't know what they're called, just Google it. All right, get onwards. Right, so I've got that cut. Very easy with that thing. There's the other half there, and I'm going to need to set this material into it ultimately, which is, he said, what's that? 45, nearest damn it, 45 by 125, which is what it was advertised as. Yeah, 45 by 125. So in here I need to mark up 125 with a depth of 45, and then I'll get the big saw out and set that up with it unplugged. Of course, I'll set the depth of the saw up, set up some kind of a guide for the first cut, and then just whiz along, do some freestyle cuts, and hopefully it should work. In with the chisel, see if we can get it to work. Right, I'll bring you back in a sec. Right, ready for the first cut. I've got my saw set, and yeah, that's the first cut's going to be done using this guide, and then I'm going to be working that way, making more cuts, and before I do anything I'm going to check it again to make sure I haven't messed up again. Alright, back in a sec. Okay, that's done. That was cut cut with the guide, and these are all cut freestyle. Not quite sure how I feel about that. I'm usually very careful with the circular saw, very slow and deliberate, and very kind of yeah, everything's kind of set up in advance, so it feels a bit weird doing it kind of freehand. The depth should be okay. 45, yeah. So I'll just get my chisel and knock these out, and hopefully we'll end up with a decent kind of, well, I don't know what you call it. It's not a slot. A decent joint. Right, back in a sec. Well, that took longer and was more hard work than I was expecting. I should have let the circular saw do more work. I think I should have taken more cuts out of it. What's always a bit of an issue, and I wasn't really anticipating, was the fact that there is, where is it? Sorry, there's a big knot there. So the grain completely changes direction. So I was coming in like this and hitting this knot, and the grain's all over the place. So yeah, you live and learn. I think I'm just going to take a hell of a lot more. The next one I'm going to do loads more saw cuts, hopefully to break up any grain discontinuity. Just won't be able to kind of get a grip on. It will be compromised, I think, by plenty of saw cuts. So let's see if that goes better. Okay, that's possibly a bit more like it. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any substantial knots in this big that I can use to test it. So, but let's see if this is a bit easier. Well, that was better. Still not perfect, but it was better. There weren't the big knots. It's a shame. These little ones were easy to get through with a chisel. I really need to sharpen my tools. That's a key thing. That plane is rubbish, and it's a good plane, but it's just blunt. And my chisels aren't really a great deal better. I mean, they're not bad, but yeah. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is, so this is the material that has to be let into this. I'm going to drill that out for the screws I'm going to use to hold that in place, and then do that for 2 of these pieces and kind of take them out. I think maybe take them out in the field and get them kind of mocked up in position. Yeah, which will be interesting. So I'll do that now. I'm thinking basically 4 screws. I'll drill holes for the screws in this end. They're the kind of self-tapping kind of screws that self-tapping's a bit extravagant, but they're kind of screws that chew their way in. So I probably won't, or maybe I'll do very small, minimal pilot holes on this side, and then let them cut their way in, because I think that's probably the best way to get a nice tight joint on that, given that we're not doing proper joinery. Okay, well, there we are. I'll do that, and then maybe we'll have something to look at the end of that.